Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Frank from the BI Forums, and in this ArmA 3 video, I want to show you guys a simple IED script that I've written, which is only 2 kilobytes in file size. It's very optimized on the way it functions. This works in single player, multiplayer, and dedicated servers, and the way this works is how you would expect any IED script. It will spawn the IEDs on random road segments within predetermined markers on the map, that we've placed as a mission designer. So, as a mission designer, we've created 3 rectangular markers. You could create more markers or less markers, it's up to you. And in this case, just to demonstrate, they are different sizes. Just make sure that the A and B axes is the same or that individual marker. Anyway, as we can see here, how this works is it will find all of the road segments inside of each individual marker and then select 5 random road segments per marker and spawn IEDs on those 5 random road segments it has selected in each marker. Hopefully that makes sense. As you can see here, there's 5. These red dots are the IEDs that have spawned inside the marker. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Anyway, this is what an IED can look like. And there's some trash that has spawned with it as well. The trash can... What the hell's going on? The trash can basically look like bottles, papers, plastic, stuff like that. Cigarettes. Shit like that. This is one example of what an IED can look like. Let's see if we could find another one of a different variety. The models of the IED is random. The trash that can spawn with it can be random as well, as far as what it looks like or whether it spawns with trash or not. Sometimes, as you can see right here, there's trash with no ID on its position, so trash can also just spawn by itself on the roads to kind of throw you off, or at least to keep you on your toes. Here's another IED with some trash near it. And the trash is only going to be papers and stuff like that. There's no like major obvious trash objects like a big giant trash bag or stuff like that. Here's another example of a different variety of a model for an IED. This is like bird on the ground. This is like another one that's bird on the ground. It's a little bit more obvious than this, but this one's pretty discreet. And these are pretty difficult to spot in maps like Pakistan. Keep in mind that this script does work in all maps, and it doesn't require any mods. It doesn't rely on any other scripts. Anyway, moving on. These IEDs can be disarmed, so if you're an explosive specialist, you can crawl up to it very slowly, and if you have a toolkit, you can disarm it. It can also be detected with a mine detector. So basically how these IEDs work is they're proximity based, so if you're moving too fast and you get within 10 meters of the IED, they will detonate. So if you run up to this thing or if you're driving past it, it will detonate. But if you slowly crawl up to it, and that's basically the slowest speed you can do, it will not detonate. So crawling up to it very slowly is how you approach these things, and then you disarm them, and then they're no longer a threat. The magnitude of these IEDs is also random as far as when they do detonate. So sometimes they'll be strong enough to take out your tires, others will be able to totally destroy your vehicle and kill everyone inside. They are very lethal to infantry. So yeah. Anyway, let's demonstrate what happens when you set one of these fucking things off. That one was strong enough to kill me, obviously. But others will just take out your tires and stuff like that. Now, let's go over how to implement this into our own mission. How do we set up this script in our own mission? So the first thing you want to do is create the markers that you want to spawn the IEDs within. So click on markers, click on an area marker, make sure it's a rectangle. Do not make an ellipse, make sure it is a rectangle. And once you've created your marker, give it a name. So in this case, we have IED marker 0, IED marker 1, and of course IED marker 2. Keep in mind that the A and B axes has to be the same for that marker. They don't have to be, all these markers don't have to be the exact same size as each other, but just for this individual marker, the A and B axes has to be the same. So 500 by 500, 200 by 200, and I think this one is 800 by 800. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's all you have to do. Just give them names, make sure they're rectangles, and that the A and B axes are the same, and it will find, all the road segments within that marker upon mission start and select random road segments and spawn the IEDs on them inside that marker, as I've already explained. Now let's look at the mission folder here. We only need 2 files, the init.sqf and the ied.sqf. So in the init.sqf, we're just going to be paying attention to line 4, exec_vm, and then in quotation marks ied.sqf with a semicolon at the end. You don't need a space here, by the way, but you can add it if it makes you feel better. Make sure that the IED script is inside the quotation marks. Anyway, let's go into the ied.sqf And we're only going to be paying attention to really 2 parameters in this to configure this script for our mission. So in this case, we have IED marker equals, and then an array of, or list of IED markers that we've created in the map, or in the mission, that we want to define as the markers to spawn IEDs within. So as I've already said, IED marker 0, IED marker 1, and IED marker 2 in this case. You could add more markers if you want, if you've placed them and named them, or you could have less markers. The other parameter we will be paying attention to is IED number. So simply just change this number to the amount of IEDs you want per marker. So this will be applied to every single marker. It will not be unique. I may add that in the future so that each marker can have an individual amount of IEDs. But for now, all markers will all markers will spawn 5 IEDs in this case. You could set it to a higher number, you could set it to a lesser number, do whatever you want. And then line 6 is, and by the way, this will also spawn 5 pieces of trash per marker. So it'll spawn 5 IEDs and 5 pieces of trash per marker, which is not really a big deal, but yeah, just saying that for the sake of argument. And line 6, we have if we uncomment this line of code will hide the rectangular markers that we've defined as the IED markers. So these 3 markers will be hidden when the mission starts to all players, because we don't really want all the players to know the radius of where these IEDs will be spawning. Additionally, speaking of which, it's only useful for like debug purposes. That's why it's there. So if you want to see the markers, then you just add these 2 little slashes right here at line 6, and that's it. And then you will be able to see those rectangular markers. But if you don't want to see them, then you make sure there's no slashes. Moving on, line 26 to line 30. This is the debug code to spawn or create the red dot markers on the position of the IEDs. So if you don't want players seeing where the exact position is of all these IEDs, then you can either just delete this code, or you can comment it out. And to comment out pretty easily, you could just do /* and then */. That's another way of commenting shit out. And that's really about it. So yeah, if you want to if you need help setting this up in your mission, then hopefully this video was enough to guide you on how to do that. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to report any bugs, whatever, you can feel free to do that in the comments section, or send me a private message, contact me on Steam, whatever the fuck you want, TeamSpeak, and I will try to do my best to help you out. Anyway, hopefully this video was helpful, hopefully the script is useful to you guys, and as I've said, it does work in multiplayer, dedicated, and single player as far as I've tested, and yeah, and these IEDs can be disarmed and all that shit, and detected with mine detectors, blah blah blah. Anyway, hopefully this was helpful to you, and if it was, great, like the video, and if it was not, then you can dislike it, do whatever the fuck you want, I don't care. And subscribe, like, whatever, do whatever. Ronk out.